I want to be in control of when I decide to go to the grocery store. I don't want running out of things dictating when I need to go to the grocery store. Hey friends, welcome back to Acre Homestead. Today I want to recap the pantry challenge. Yesterday I went grocery shopping for the first time at Costco, and I also picked up my Azure order. It has been since December 26th since I went grocery shopping, and yesterday was March 3rd. So that is over 2 months of no personal grocery shopping except for 2 exceptions, and I'll get into those real quick here. But I want to recap what the rules were and why I decided to do this 2 months pantry challenge, no shopping challenge that was hosted by Jessica at 3 Rivers Homestead. So I did print off a list of rules for myself. That was the one thing about this pantry challenge, is that everyone got to create their own rules. I do want to preface one thing. If you're here only for the Azure haul, I'll put a timestamp down in the description box so you can skip to see what I bought. But first, I want to go ahead and recap the rules, what I ran out of, what I learned, will I do this again? So the rules were for me were that I was going to spend $0 at the grocery store for the month of January, and I did that, no problem. Then I was going to give myself $40 a month, so $10 a week in the month of February to go grocery shopping for fresh produce and dairy products, which I more than succeeded. The only 2 things that I purchased in the month of February were 1 pound of coffee, which technically that was outside of the parameters of what I set for myself, but I wasn't about to go almost 3.5 weeks with no coffee. I had decaf, but I needed regular. The only other thing I purchased for personal use during the month of February was 1 quart of half and half, because I also ran out of that. I did make some of my own almond milk, but I do prefer half and half. And so for a week and a half, I used the homemade almond milk. And then the last week and a half of the pantry challenge, I used half and half. The next rule were that I was gonna go through my pantry and I was gonna pick out items that have just been sitting in my pantry for way too long and I needed to use them up. A couple of them were coconut, almond flour, and those were 2 things that I used a ton of during this pantry challenge. I used coconut in some of those baked goods that we made for Valentine's Day, and then I also used the almond flour. I learned how to make banana almond flour bread as a quick bread, and it was really good, and I made that a few times for breakfast for Josh and I. The next rule that I had, and this was the last rule, was that I needed to try at least 1 new recipe, try something I'd never cooked before during this pantry challenge. It was supposed to be 1 new recipe a week, and I think I pretty much did that. I didn't keep track exactly. So let me tell you the new recipes that I cooked for the first time that I'd never cooked before. The first one was that almond banana bread, and then I made tortillas for the first time, gnocchi soup, schnitzel, Oreos, goldfish, and I know there was more that I had never made before, new recipes to me, but those are the ones that were fantastic that I will definitely be making again. So that was fun, that it kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, pushed me to learn new recipes, and now we have a couple new favorite recipes that I definitely am going to put into the rotation. So those were the rules, whether I succeeded at them or not, and I think overall I did a pretty great job. The next thing were, why did I decide to do this? I'm just going to go through this really quickly. I decided to do this because I wanted to use up the food that I preserved last year, so that going into this growing season, I'm not carrying over a ton of produce from last year. The second thing is I wanted to cycle through some of my dry goods. We did a fantastic job on that. When we get into the haul, I'll tell you the stuff that we almost ran out of. I'll actually tell you that before we get to the haul, but we're cycling through those dry goods because I buy in bulk. I want to make sure that things aren't just sitting in the pantry, in the cupboards, going stale. Save money. I saved a whole lot of money during this pantry challenge because I wasn't going grocery shopping. I wasn't doing those impulse buying. And overall, I mean, technically on groceries for personal use, I spent, I think it was like $15 for the coffee and the cream. And I did buy, you will see that I did buy a couple of grocery items, but they were for if I had to go cook for a party or something like that. It wasn't just for personal use for Josh and I. It was because I was responsible to make something for a party, or I was making something for a gift, like all those Valentine's Day cookies and candies we made together. But the majority of the products that I needed for those gifts and for those baked goods were stuff that I already had on hand. I showed you what I had to buy for those items. I want to cut down on food waste when I buy in bulk, and when I'm not going to the store and buying those convenience foods. I'm not using products that have a lot of packaging. Let's get into now what I learned from the pantry challenge, because that was one of my goals, and why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to learn what Josh and I gravitate towards, like what items should I purchase in bulk and what items should I not purchase in bulk. What are the things that I'm not reaching for? And what do we like to eat out of the garden, and what should I be trying to grow more of? The first and most important thing I learned was that Josh and I overall have an extremely well-stocked pantry for us. We could probably go another 2 months with having a meat, a starch, and a vegetable for every single meal. It would get a little bit more monotonous at this point if I had to push myself 4 months without going to the grocery store. We might not have exactly what I want to cook with because we definitely would have run out of cheese. I still have 3 pounds of cheese in my refrigerator, but I know that if we went another 2 months, we would have definitely run out of cheese. And the vegetable selection would start to get a little bit old of just having frozen, freeze-dried, and canned vegetables. So I wouldn't want to go 4 months without going to the grocery store, but I know that we can do it. And the reason why that is so important to me to know that is that if Josh or I were not able to work, we would have food security, just like you want to have money in the bank for insurance, or you have car insurance, medical insurance, life insurance. Food insurance, by having food in your pantry, is just another way of savings. It also helps you save against inflation. Inflation is going up and up and up right now. That is one reason why when I get into what I bought today, I bought a little bit extra than I probably normally would, is because inflation. I want to try to lock in my prices now so that in a year I'm still using products that I paid today's prices and not what who knows what, a year from now or even a month or 2 months from now, what the prices are going to look like. The second thing I kind of already talked on, but I learned some new skills. I learned how to make tortillas and I learned how to pan fry schnitzel. And those are 2 things that I'm really excited and I'm definitely going to be using and implementing in my kitchen routine going forward. Every time you learn a new kitchen skill or a new recipe, then it gives you a little bit more confidence to be a little bit more creative and maybe push yourself even more in the kitchen. And to me, that's invaluable. So I'm excited that I was able to learn some new skills. So overall, I would say this pantry challenge was extremely worth it. We did go through about 3/4 of the produce that I put up last year. So that is fantastic. We still have at least a month and a half, if not 2 months, before I'm going to be harvesting even lettuce greens or anything in the garden. And it's going to be probably 4 months, 5 months before I'm starting to harvest anything substantial in the garden. And so I have enough produce in my freezer from last year's garden to get us to where we are going to be harvesting our own produce again. If you watched the garden tour, you saw that I just harvested a bunch of carrots out of the garden and leeks. And that's pretty exciting. But now there's nothing in the garden except for some herbs that are starting to pop up. So now that I have used the bulk majority, I think I have a good amount in my freezer and in my pantries to get us through until we start putting up this year's garden's produce. I also learned and found the holes that are in my pantry, the areas where I could do better and where I could stock a little bit more, because we did run out of a few items during this pantry challenge. So what I'm going to tell you right now are the items that we ran out of, and we were able to kind of make do and shift and do some things to make it work. But these were the items that we ran out of. I ran out of sesame oil. I ran out of like a light olive oil. I have my really nice olive oil that I like to use for making salad dressings, but I really don't want to cook with that olive oil, so we ran out of that. We ran out of coconut aminos, balsamic and red wine vinegar. We almost ran out of cane sugar. I had some canning recipes and canning things we were going to be doing together, but I was not able to do them because I would have completely run out of sugar if we had done them. We completely ran out of powdered sugar, which I'm kind of excited we ran out of powdered sugar, because what that did is it finally forced me to learn how to make homemade powdered sugar. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I learned how to do that. And I will show a video here at some point on how to make homemade powdered sugar, but it couldn't be easier. And so that was one thing I was kind of excited that I was forced to learn that because of running out of powdered sugar. We almost ran out of white flour. So I did a lot of cooking this last month with whole wheat flour, and that was honestly a good thing because I had not been grabbing my whole wheat flour because I'm in the habit of grabbing my white flour. I didn't want to completely run out of my white flour, so I used a lot of our whole wheat flour because I didn't want to run out of the white flour. The next 2 months, 3 months, I'm really going to work on continuing to be in the habit of using up that wheat flour, because wheat flour does not have as long of a shelf life. And that is one of the reasons why I'm doing this pantry challenge, because it's helping me and forcing me to use some of those other items that I don't generally just gravitate towards. We ran out of tortillas. I knew that was going to happen. That's why I bought a tortilla press, so we learned how to make tortillas. We ran out of tortilla chips, not really worried about it. That's something that I'm not gonna be buying in bulk or anything, because then we'll just eat more tortilla chips and we don't need to eat that many tortilla chips. This pantry challenge, I was gonna try to make my own chips, but I never got to it. So when I get to that, we'll do it together. And we ran out of snacks. My husband likes snacks, and he really was not participating in this pantry challenge. He had the autonomy to go buy whatever he wanted to buy. He normally buys his own snacks anyway because I don't buy them, and so he buys them for himself. But I was able to keep quite a few like home baked goods and items that he was happy with eating here. And I think he just kind of got out of the habit of eating those store-bought snacks, and he wasn't really buying them. I was kind of surprised. He did find my Girl Scout cookies that I bought for research to make our Girl Scout cookies together, but he came home with some more, so that I have replenished that. So I still have those cookies because I haven't done the research yet that I need to figure out the recipes to make homemade Girl Scout cookies together. But anyway, I thought that was funny. And okay, so this was not really technically part of Pantry Challenge because they were household items that we ran out of, but I personally kind of group anything I buy at the grocery store or at Costco together because they all come from the same place. But I wasn't thinking about these going into the Pantry Challenge. So one thing we ran out of were dishwasher tabs for the dishwasher, and honestly, that was it. But it was really frustrating to run out of those, and so that's something that I'm going to be thinking about in the future, that I don't want to run out of dishwasher tabs. I don't want to have to go to the grocery store just to buy dishwasher tabs. So I need to make sure that I keep at least 2 boxes of dishwasher tabs on hand at all times, so that when I open one box, I buy the next one when I'm planning to go to the grocery store. I want to be in control of when I decide to go to the grocery store. I don't want running out of things dictating when I need to go to the grocery store. So that is one of the reasons why I like to keep a stock pantry, is because I want to be in control of that. I don't want the lack of something I have in my house to force me into a grocery store, if that makes sense. Those were the only household items we ran out of. I try to keep a really good stocked pantry of laundry detergent, toothpaste, all of those types of things, hair products, shampoo, conditioner, and things of that nature. So when I look over the items of things I ran out of, I am pretty proud of myself that I was able to do this and only run out of those really small, kind of not really even that crucial of things, because I could just adjust. Since I didn't have balsamic vinegar or red wine vinegar, if I was going to make a salad, I could use apple cider vinegar, white wine vinegar, white distilled vinegar. I had other options. Doing this pantry challenge really pushed me, and it really confirmed that this is something that I think is really important. It's something that I'm passionate about. And if I don't do these pantry challenges, then how am I going to know where my holes are in my pantry and in my stocked goods? If I was forced to have to not go to the grocery store, not by choice, but by force due to outstanding circumstances. If you participated in any way in this pantry challenge, can you please leave what you did down in the description box, what you learned, what you liked, what you didn't like. If you didn't participate, is it something that you want to participate in next year? Because I learned a ton from you in the comment section, and we can all learn from each other. This took me years to get to this point, so don't be discouraged if you can't go 2 months without going to the grocery store. I used to go to the grocery store twice a week, almost every single week, and I slowly worked on building the time between trips to the grocery store. And buying in bulk and buying in building that stock pantry takes time, because you have to buy the product, and so it's not something that most people, I certainly couldn't do it, just go out to the grocery store and spend thousands of dollars to then have a year's supply worth of food. It took months and months and months of slowly buying 2 of this, 2 of that, 1 extra of this to build that pantry. Enjoyed watching my meals of the week. If you want me to continue to do that, please let me know. I had so much fun showing the meals of the week, and I can continue to do that if that's something that you're interested in me showing, because I had fun doing it. So I just want to know if it's something you're interested. If you're interested in Azure, I'll leave a link down in the description box. If you don't know what it is, it's a bulk buying, mostly organic company where you don't have to pay shipping. It's a great way to get bulk organic food at amazing prices. I haven't found even Amazon, mostly Azure can beat the prices hands down. In this haul, I got things for my chickens, my garden, and my pantry. So let me just get right into it. I'm going to show you the chickens and the garden things that I got first. So the first thing I got was more chicken feed. You may have watched my last Azure haul and you're wondering, Becky, why in the world did you buy chicken feed? You just bought 6 bags of it. That is because I bought the whole grain and I did not realize that I didn't buy the pellets. They really, really prefer the pellets. And in the brand I normally buy through Azure, they were out of stock, but they had this grub high protein. It has little bugs in it, and I thought that they would really enjoy this. So because they've been eating something they don't really enjoy, I decided to get them some of these. So I got quite a few bags. So now I have enough chicken feed to get through the entire year. And a few of you guys have mentioned that you've bought, a big supply of the pelleted chicken feed and it got moist and it got all ruined. So this is all being kept in my garage, so it is more controlled in the environment it's sitting in. So there's not gonna be any moisture. I'm not gonna keep it out in the chicken shed or anything like that because I don't want to have my big investment to go to waste. So just like I have a stocked pantry for myself, I want to make sure my chickens have a stocked pantry for them, because if I can't feed them, then I can't get eggs from them. Another thing I bought is this organic fertilizer. I have not really fertilized my garden in the past 2 years. I have just used some composted horse manure, and this year I'm really going to try to work on a nice big harvest. And so I decided to go ahead and get this. I was looking and this was a great price. It's 50 pounds. I did the math. I bought 4 of these bags, and that should be well than enough to get me through this entire garden season. So I went ahead and I bought 4 bags of fertilizer. This is for the garden as well. I am going to attempt to try to grow some ginger this year, and I needed to buy this so that I could grow it. It's organic ginger. I'm going to cut it up into pieces and we're going to plant it here pretty soon. We're going to plant it inside, and that's going to be a fun adventure that we're going to do together. So that is what that's for. Azure does have seeds. The reason I decided to buy seeds were because they had this Copenhagen market cabbage. I looked on all the seed companies I normally buy seeds through and I could not find them. And I think that I can't remember who I watch grows this cabbage every year, and it does really well. And so I've been wanting to grow this cabbage, so in a couple days I'm going to plant this inside, and we're going to attempt to grow some Copenhagen market cabbage. While I was looking at the seeds, I went ahead and got some beans. These are some Blue Lake bush beans and some contender beans. I really didn't need these, but they just found their way into my cart. You all know how that goes. And then I went ahead and I got some organic long grain brown rice. This was on sale. I don't really need rice right now, but I don't have any brown rice. And I'm going to be doing a ton of freezer meal cooking this week. I only have 1 left in my freezer, and I have to do some for myself. And then my sister-in-law is having a baby. She's due in about 3.5 weeks, and so I'm going to make some freezer meals for her as well. And I'm going to be using some rice in some of the recipes. And I thought that brown rice, because it has more texture to it, it's probably going to hold up better in freezer meals. So I'm not going to experiment for the meals that I'm giving to my sister-in-law, but I'm going to experiment for the meals that I'm making for myself to use brown rice as opposed to white rice. I think it's going to do better, but we'll see. The things going on in the world, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get 2. So I went ahead and I got 100 pounds of white flour. This is my favorite brand. They used to carry it at my local Costco. I could buy 20 pounds at a time, but they don't carry it anymore. And honestly, this is the best price to buy it in a 15-pound bag through Azure. The next thing I got were some cheese. I guess this is not by weight. I thought these were 5-pound blocks, but they definitely are not the same size. These are raw medium cheddar, and you can get cheese to last months and months and months in your refrigerator if you don't open it. Once you open it, you need to do something with it, but this is going to last us a long time. We still have about 3 pounds of cheese that I bought 2.5 months ago in the refrigerator that are still going strong, but since I put in my order, I went ahead and got this. Now I did go ahead and buy a bag of soft white wheat. These are whole wheat berries. This is a 25-pound bag. I decided to buy the whole wheat berries because I am running a little bit low, and I really would prefer to grind my own wheat when I want to use whole wheat as opposed to buying or using the pre-ground stuff. What I do is I usually will grind about 20 cups of the whole wheat berries, and then I will put that in my freezer because that will go rancid if you just put it in your cupboard and it starts to lose its nutrients. But if I have to grind it on demand, then I tend not to do it when I'm going to make a recipe because it's easier just to grab the pre-ground stuff. So I used to always have fresh whole wheat flour in my freezer, but I haven't done that. I've been out of the habit, and I want to start doing that. And I want to start experimenting with sprouting my wheat. I never had the time to do that before, but I think I have the time to do that now. It's supposed to be way more nutritious to have sprouted flour, but to buy sprouted flour, it's extremely expensive. It's out of my budget, especially organic sprouted flour. So I thought, you know what, I think I'm gonna make that a goal of mine to get into sprouting my own wheat berries. I have 2 dehydrators, so I could do a ton of it at a time, and we'll do it together when and if I get to it. Hold me accountable, please. If you wanna know about sprouting wheat berries, one of my favorite resources for learning about sprouting your grains and seeds and things of those legumes and all that stuff, then the book Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon is the book that you want to read. I can link that down in the description box. It's how I learned all about fermenting, what type of healthy fats you should eat, what fats you should avoid, sprouting your grains, eating traditionally, eating organ meats, and all those things, all those good things for us. Fermenting, if I didn't mention that. So let's get back into the haul. Speaking of fermenting, when I was doing those Valentine's Day baking, I realized how many ick ingredients are in the cream that I buy. So I bought this. It was not cheap, and all it has in it is organic cream. There's no thickeners or binding agents or preservatives in it. And you know I make my own sour cream, so I bought this to make my own sour cream with, and I'm gonna experiment freezing one of these and seeing how it goes. I tried freezing half and half and it did not work, but I think you can freeze whole cream. So we're gonna try that together. And then during Pantry Challenge, another thing I did run out of, which I forgot to mention, was sour cream and cream. And so I bought this Nancy's probiotic cream as my starter to start making my own sour cream again. I do have a video on making sour cream if you want to see that. I can link that down in the description box. The last grain that I purchased in this order is a 5-pound bag of polenta. I have never made polenta before or grits before, but I have some shrimp that I want to use up, and I want to try to attempt to make shrimp and grits, and I also want to try to make polenta, like fried polenta. I've ordered it at a restaurant before, and it's really, really good as like a side to, you know, like a chicken or something like that. So this is brand new to me, never done it, but I thought that it would be fun. Kind of like one of those things that pushed myself, like a recipe that's gonna push myself to try something new. So hopefully we like it. Another recipe that we tried together for the first time was making a caper white sauce with chicken and pasta, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever made before. And so I went ahead and I got 3 more containers of capers, because capers are so good. And I ran out of red wine vinegar, and I used this to pickle my onions and make salad dressings, and so I needed to get that, and I went ahead and just bought a whole gallon because I go through a lot of it when I pickle my onions. Just some maple syrup. I normally buy the big thing of maple syrup, but I don't like it taking up so much space in my refrigerator, so I did spend an extra few cents on the smaller one, but it's going to take up less space in my refrigerator. I ran out of coconut aminos, so I bought 2. I ran out of sesame seed oil, so I got organic toasted sesame oil this time. I've never gotten organic before, but they had it at Azure, and I really like this brand. This is my favorite olive oil brand, so I thought I would get this as well. And then just some balsamic vinegar we ran out of. I got 2 bottles. I know how to make my own almond milk. I like to have almond milk in my smoothies, and I want to have this on hand because it's just shelf stable. I can keep it in my pantry, and if I don't feel like making my own almond milk, which I usually don't because I usually make smoothies for breakfast, then I can have this. I got a 50-pound bag of organic cane sugar. I make all my own homemade brown sugar, so I don't keep brown sugar in my house, and I just learned how to make homemade powder sugar. So this is going to be great, and canning season is coming up. Canning season does use quite a bit of sugar, and so I bought this so that I can start making all my sugar products, and I'm going to be ready for canning season because I probably only have about 2 cups of sugar in my house right now. And like I said, there are things in my freezer that I want to get out of my freezer and into cans, but I did not have enough sugar in order to do that. This is something I'm really, really excited for. I'm going to try to find some elderberry plants this year to grow myself, but I want to try making elderberry tincture. Elderberry syrup is really popular, but I don't want all that sugar, and when you make elderberry syrup, from what I read, is that it doesn't last a super, super long time. It only lasts in your refrigerator for a few weeks, and a tincture is made with vodka instead of sugar, and it'll last a really, 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 really long time. And so if Josh and I get sick, we can take elderberry tincture as opposed to elderberry syrup. So I have to do a little bit more research on that, but that's why I bought 1 pound of whole organic elderberries. So when I make this, we'll make it together. And then here is some soap. This soap is made in Ashland, Oregon, which is about 6 hours south of me. And Josh loves this soap. Last time I bought it about 6 months ago. It lasted us a really long time. And I bought the aloe, and this time I bought the lemon gardeners. So I'm excited to try this. We haven't tried this scent before, but I'm sure it's great because I really like this brand. I really want to get into soap making more seriously. I made one batch and we made it together, and it was 100% tallow, and I am using it. I haven't talked about it since I made it, which was almost a year ago. I waited until about a month ago to start using it, and it's not my favorite. It is a little bit too tallow-y, and I want to find something that is, one, a little bit harder, and two, I want something that is a mix of oils. And so I've been researching online, but honestly, it's really hard to find recipes for soap making online, and so I need some good books. So can you guys give me, if you are into soap making or anything, some good books or good resources to make my own homemade soap? It's something that I've always been interested in. I've dabbled in it, but I think I'm ready to kind of dive in and find a recipe that we really, really like, because I would love to make all of our own soap. I know that I'm capable of doing it, and I know that I would enjoy doing it, but the biggest thing is just finding a recipe that is a good recipe, one that's not just gonna wash away, one that's not too fatty, one that's not too lye. There's so many recipes and so many different ingredients, and I don't want one that has like 8 or 9 ingredients, because that's the thing, some of them have a ton, but I guess if that's the best recipe, then maybe that's the one I want to make. I don't know. You help me. If you guys are into soap making, give me all the options. Give me all the tips, because I need them. This was the Azure haul that we got today, and this is mostly pantry staple items. I, from now on, moving forward, am going to be using Azure mainly for pantry items. It's not something that I'm going to be buying fresh produce from anymore. The quantities are, for Josh and I, just a little too big, and I found that we just can't quite get through them fast enough before they go bad. The onions that I bought 2 months ago are still going strong, so those are fine. But some of the other produce items that I bought, we cannot go through them fast enough. But this is a fantastic resource if you want to start building your pantry. So I'll leave the link for them down in the description box. But this is not the full picture of what the groceries I purchased after going almost 2.5 months without going to the grocery store. So if you're interested in seeing my Costco haul and my Walmart haul to see how I fill in the rest of the picture, go ahead and subscribe if you're new around here, because that is going to be the next video that comes out. And I'm going to be talking about in that video all the freezer meals that we're going to be cooking together, because there are going to be a lot of freezer meals that we're going to be doing here pretty soon, because I can't have no freezer meals in my freezer. It's just not the way that I like to go through life, because then Josh and I are going to be going out to eat a little bit too much if I don't have the convenience of having those meals in my freezer. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate that. And if you want to watch me cook with a ton of this food, I have a lot of videos where we cook together. I can leave those videos up here. If you want to see what my garden looked like last year, and hopefully it's going to look even better this year, I'll put a garden video down here. You can go enjoy those. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Bye, guys.